This is passage 5. It's a research passage. We know it's research because it says study 1, study 2. So you're going to compare different studies. For research passages, you're going to read, not carefully read, but you're going to read, look for the process, the difference between the studies. We're going to use the R and R approach to questions. You're going to read and then we're going to reread together and work the questions. So take about 30 seconds to a minute to skim through the passage, look at the differences in the studies, just skim the tables to see what's going on before you go to the questions. Generally, it's a little bit easier if you do that. Number 27 is a suppose question, so you know you're going to have to insert some information. Suppose a 6 trial had been performed in study 1. So put your finger on study 1. For which the fluid's flow rate had equaled 920, I guess it's milliliters per second. So figure out where that's going to be. Okay, put your finger on it, draw a line straight across. In that trial, the viscosity of the fluid would most likely have been. So even if you don't know what viscosity would mean, you see the symbols, and so you can know it's going to be this column. So it's going to be between 1 and 2, 10 to the negative third parsecs. So B. In study 2, which of the variables were held constant? So it says it has a viscosity, or let's call that N, 1.0 times 10 to the negative third. So that is held constant and has the same D. So the N and the D, so H. Question 29. Based on the information given, if the pressure at gauge G was 105, what was the pressure at gauge H? If we look at our tables, we don't see kPa anywhere in the tables. So we go to the reading. And it says in the reading, the pressure of the fluid at gauge G minus the pressure of the fluid at gauge H always equaled 5 kilopascals. So G minus H has to equal 5. So if G is 105, that means H has to be 100 to equal 5. So your answer is B. The hardest part of this question is just finding where to go for the information. Based on the information given, in what direction was the fluid flowing? Well, we know from question 29 that G minus H is 5, so the pressure at G is greater than H. It tells us that in the reading. So we can actually eliminate choice G and choice H. It's confusing because G and H are the gauges as well. Gauge G was less than the pressure of H. No. Gauge H was greater than the pressure of G. No. Both those are just not true by the facts stated. You don't have to reason. Now you've got it down to at least a 50-50 shot. And now you have to understand just knowledge-wise a bit more. The pressure is going to be greater on the first gauge. So F. The viscosity of each fluid investigated in the studies resulted from which of the following types of interaction between the parts of the fluid? So this is again a knowledge question. So you have friction, combustion, magnetism, and gravity. And you have to understand that viscosity is kind of like liquid friction. It's the forces that act upon it to slow it down. There's my dog in the background. So your answer is A. Question 32. In study 3, put your finger on study 3. When D was equal to 2.5, I guess that's meters, 2.5 meters, so put your finger on that. Approximately what volume of fluid flowed past either gauge in 1 minute? So our readings are given in seconds, so we have to convert this to minutes, and it's approximate. So we're going to say 492 is approximately 500 because we look at our answers, they're all in the thousands. So 500 times 60 seconds, and that's going to give us about 30,000, so choice G. Okay, number 33, let's really break down this question. The pressure gradient, okay, that's in italics, so any italicized information is new information. It's going to explain what it is. So the pressure gradient between any 2 points lying on a horizontal line inside a tube equal the absolute value and the difference in pressure between the 2 points. So, and then we know those 2 points are G and H. So that's good. So what we've learned throughout this whole passage is that one part in the reading that the difference between the pressure in G and H will always equal 5. If you miss that, that makes this passage really tricky. So we know that, though, it's going to be 5. It's going to be divided by the distance between the 2 points. We know we're going to divide. Well, how do we know the difference? I mean, the distance between the 2 points? We go to study 1. And in study 1, it tells us that the distance is 1. So now we know it's 5 divided by 1, and 5 divided by 1 equals 5. That's a lot to take in. So when you get to this question, take your time to break it down if you have time. If you don't have time, this might be a question you have to skip, because part of the pressure of ACT is how quickly the test moves. So this one you can figure out. It just takes a little bit more time than some of them.